Daniel sat on the porch of his small house, staring out at the vast landscape. He had experienced much in life, both the highs and the lows, but there was an aching feeling that something important was slipping through his fingers. At 35, he looked back at the years and wondered where the time had gone. Successes, failures, fleeting moments of happiness, and many unfulfilled dreams all seemed to blur together. He felt like time was slipping away, and yet he couldn't grasp it. He had worked hard over the years, but always without a clear direction. The more he tried to focus, the more time seemed to escape him. He had spent years putting off what mattered most, leaving behind his passions, his relationships, and his dreams. Now Daniel could feel it. Time was quickly running out, and he was left wondering how to make the most of what was left. Daniel's restlessness had been building for weeks. He had been feeling unfulfilled, weighed down by the burden of time, lost. And he realized that despite his efforts, he had not made the progress he had hoped for. One evening, as he was having dinner alone, his mind wandered to his grandfather, William. The old man had always been a source of wisdom and strength. Daniel had always looked up to him, not just because he was family, but because his grandfather's words had often proven to be sound, simple, and life-changing. As Daniel sat there, overwhelmed by the weight of his regrets, he realized that he needed to seek his grandfather's guidance once again. He decided to visit him, knowing that if anyone could help him find clarity, it was Grandpa William. The old man had lived through many of life's challenges and had always managed to stay calm and grounded. It was time to learn from him again. Daniel found his grandfather sitting under the shade of a large oak tree in the garden. The familiar, comforting scent of fresh coffee lingered in the air. He sat beside the old man, and after a few moments of silence, Daniel spoke. "Grandpa, I feel like I've wasted so much time. I'm 35, and I don't know where the years went. I've lived, yes, but it feels like I haven't truly done anything with my life. I worked, but without purpose. I've made plans, but never followed through. What happened to me?" Grandpa William didn't rush to answer. He simply gazed at Daniel, his wise eyes seeing more than what was spoken. After a long pause, he said, "You're not the only one, Daniel. Many people waste time without realizing it until it's too late. But I can tell you this. The value of time is not in how much you have, but in how you use it." Daniel frowned, unsure of what his grandfather meant. "I try, Grandpa. I tell myself I'll start fresh tomorrow, but it never happens. I feel stuck in this cycle." Grandpa smiled gently, his eyes twinkling with a quiet understanding. He had seen many people go through this struggle, including himself when he was young. "Daniel, when I was your age, I struggled with the same thing. I would put things off, tell myself I'd do them later, but it always seemed like later never came. And then one day, I realized something important." Daniel leaned in, eager for the advice that had helped his grandfather. Grandpa William leaned back in his chair, eyes narrowing as he recalled the past. "Let me tell you a story, Daniel. A story from my younger days, one that taught me a powerful lesson about time." Grandpa continued, "When I was around your age, I met a farmer who taught me a lesson I've never forgotten. He had a small farm on the outskirts of town, and one day I visited him. I remember he was an older man, probably in his late 50s, but he had a strong sense of purpose in everything he did. He knew what needed to be done, and he did it without hesitation." Grandpa paused for a moment before continuing. "I asked him once, 'How do you stay so focused? How do you manage all the work that needs to be done on the farm?' He smiled at me, and without missing a beat, he said, 'I know that every day I spend on this farm is a day I will never get back. The moment I waste, I lose it forever. That's why, no matter how hard it is, I don't waste time. I do what needs to be done, because every minute counts." Daniel listened intently, his grandfather's words resonating deeply within him. Grandpa continued, "At the time, I didn't fully understand what he meant. But now, looking back, I realize how much he understood the value of time. The farmer lived by a principle. He valued every moment because he knew that each one was irreplaceable. He didn't waste time worrying about the future or dwelling on the past. He lived in the present, doing what was necessary. Grandpa William leaned forward and locked eyes with Daniel. That's the key, my boy. You see, the farmer's secret was simple. He focused on what mattered. He didn't let distractions take over. Every action, no matter how small, was done with intention. After telling the story, Grandpa reached into his pocket and pulled out a weathered hourglass. He handed it to Daniel. This hourglass symbolizes time, Daniel. Each grain of sand is a moment of your life. Every time you waste, a grain of sand falls and never returns. Daniel took the hourglass in his hands, feeling the weight of it, both physically and emotionally. As he watched the sand flow from one side to the other, he felt a deep realization begin to settle in. How many grains of sand had he already wasted? Grandpa's voice broke through his thoughts. Time does not wait for anyone. It moves forward, whether you are ready or not. You can never get back the moments you've lost, but you can choose to make the most of the ones ahead. Daniel was silent for a moment, processing the weight of his grandfather's words. But how do I start, Grandpa? How do I change? Grandpa smiled, gently patting Daniel's hand. It starts with small steps. Set clear goals, prioritize what truly matters, and eliminate the distractions. Break your tasks into manageable parts and focus on one thing at a time. Don't try to do everything at once. Remember, it's not about doing more, but about doing what matters with purpose. For the next few days, Daniel took his grandfather's advice to heart. He began to organize his life, setting aside time for work, hobbies, family, and self-care. He wrote down his goals and set specific time frames for each. No more procrastinating, no more letting the days slip by unnoticed. The first thing Daniel did was establish a morning routine. He had always told himself he would wake up earlier, but often snoozed his alarm and wasted half the day. But now, he committed to waking up at 6 a.m. every day, using the early hours for focused work, whether it was writing, reading, or planning. He also began setting weekly goals and breaking them down into manageable tasks. He no longer allowed himself to put off what needed to be done, no matter how big or small. Daniel also realized he had been neglecting his relationships. He decided to spend more time with his family and friends, setting aside time every week for meaningful interactions. He would visit his parents more often, call his brother regularly, and spend time reconnecting with old friends he had lost touch with over the years. He learned to turn off his phone during family dinners and no longer let distractions take over those precious moments. As weeks turned into months, Daniel's transformation became evident. He was no longer the man who let life pass by. He had learned to appreciate each moment, to use his time wisely, and to focus on what truly mattered. His work flourished, but more importantly, his life became fuller. He found joy in the small things: a walk in the park with his mother, a late-night conversation with a close friend, time spent reflecting on his personal growth. One evening, as he sat beside his grandfather again under the oak tree, Daniel smiled, filled with gratitude. "Grandpa, I see now what you meant. Time isn't something we can get back, but it's something we can use wisely. Every grain of sand matters." Grandpa William nodded, his face beaming with pride. "Exactly, my boy. You've learned what many never do. Time is the most valuable thing we have. The more you respect it, the more you'll be able to live a life of meaning and fulfillment." Daniel's journey didn't end there. Over the years, he became a living example of the power of time well spent. He shared his story with others, urging them to take control of their own time and make the most of every moment. His grandfather's teachings became a part of his daily life, and through his actions, he passed on the wisdom to the next generation. One day, as Grandpa William sat in his favorite chair, Watching Daniel's children play in the garden, he knew that the lessons of time would continue. He had passed on the knowledge that had changed his own life, and now it was Daniel's turn to do the same. The legacy of wisdom would live on, reminding everyone that time is a precious gift, and how we choose to use it shapes our destiny. Daniel lived the rest of his life knowing the value of time. He had learned to make every moment count, to live with purpose, and to cherish the people around him. The lessons his grandfather shared were now a part of him, and he passed them on to those he loved. As Grandpa William often said, "Time waits for no one, but how you spend it can change everything."